Now we are in a most guarded and most secret place in a former Czechoslovakia. There was 12 locations like this. Every location have a double depot. 10B is over there, 10A is over there. It means altogether in former Eastern Bloc was together 24 depots like this. Everything you will see inside is the original. 99.9%. We don't kick out nothing, you know. Included we find, you know, some wire or something like that. Every papers, you know, from the chewing gum we find the papers. Everything is there. The secret name of this place was in a Czech language, Javor 51. The depot looks like this. Is it roughly 30 to 30 meters? We are now staying exactly here. The entry is to the maintenance hall. There was the nuclear warheads, keep it in a full operation. Over there is the 4 rooms for storing the warheads, which looks like this. The destroyable power was 40 times destroyable than the Hiroshima or the Nagasaki. The range of the rockets which was able to wear these warheads was the rockets Točka, Skat or Luna, and the maximum range was Frankfurt, Nuremberg or München. It means roughly 350-400 kilometers. It was operation and operation tactical rockets. The intercontinental rockets never been in Czechoslovakia. It was 100% in the hands of the former Soviet Union, and it was only in a Soviet Union lands. The same was in the United States. The intercontinental rockets never was outside of the land of the United States. It is the only 3 models 1-to-1 in the world which are able to explain how the fission nuclear plutonium implosive bomb works. This is the neutron source. On the face is the gold, inside polonium, gold, and inside beryllium. Nothing happened. No any radiation, because the gold is keeping everything. This is the plutonium. This is the plutonium. The subcritical average was 104 millimeters. Critical average and the critical viscosity, something like this, was 102 millimeters, and the weight was 6.19 kilograms. This plutonium destroyed the Nagasaki. There is the plutonium. Around was the uranium 238, which is not possible to fission, but to keep the neutrons and the going back to with the neutrons back to the plutonium. And around was the classical aluminium wheel, which average 580 millimeters. And that is the first secrecy, is the neutron source, because you need the neutrons which are able to make a fission of the plutonium, the cell of the plutonium. That is the Nagasaki and the plutonium Fat Man bomb. Around this, what you can see here are the 32 the cells with the classical vybušnina, explosive, classical explosive. And now how it works. After 1.000,000 seconds, very short time, explode the 32 cells, which implode and they make a fire from the aluminium. And because the fire and the heat, the neutron source and the gold will disappear, and immediately they will get 10 million neutrons for fissioning the plutonium, and everything's go to blow. But after 1.1,000 second later, will keep the rest of the 32 cells, which keep the fission process for a little bit late, and after that everything blow up. And this destroy the Nagasaki. After 1 second everything is finished. That is the system, so-called the fission bombs, which are for the fission is possible to use the plutonium. Every reactor in the world, which are in a full operation, roughly 436 nuclear reactors, are able to produce are produced to plutonium. The first bomb, which was never tested, was the bomb so-called Little Boy. And in Little Boy, they was used another system that was the enrich uranium-235 for more than 80%, and it was 2 part of the subcritical amount. The critical amount was 68.5 kilograms of the enriched uranium of the 235, and they simply take one to the another part. The principle was much more simple, but the efficiency was very, very poor, relatively very poor. The maximum 2% of the cells was destroyed. This system of the fission atomic bombs are really only for children. The most danger, absolutely most danger, and is the absolutely guns, and doesn't exist the physical process, which we understand a little bit, which is more destroyable than is the fusion. In fusion, we are using the isotope of the hydrogen, the deuterium, tritium, and now is for as a fuel using deuteric lignite, and the energy efficiency is thousands times destroyable than in a classical fission bombs, and the humankind doesn't have any destroyable process than is the hydrogen bomb. That is the final goal for for the people around the world. And what is the most terrible in a hydrogen bomb, that you can add it as a fuel only several kilograms of the deuterium or tritium, and you can really break down whole the planet, because it doesn't have the destroyable limit. The fission bombs have maximum destroyable limit, theoretically 1 megatons, and hydrogen bomb doesn't have any limit. The biggest test in a planet was in year 61. The Soviets, they did it, so-called Tsar Bomba, the biggest nuclear test in human history, and the destroyable power was 57 megatons, which is 4,400 times destroyable than the Hiroshima or the Nagasaki. The Americans, they never used such a terrible destroyable power. The maximum was the 25 megatons. But when the generals from both sides see how destroyable is the hydrogen bomb, they decided that is no possible to use for the war, because the war is losing the sense. Yeah. And thanks God, maybe, if I can say, the nuclear power keeps the peace for the future generation. From my understanding, is that peace cannot be kept by the forces, and can be achieved only by understanding. And this beautiful sentence said Albert Einstein. Because if Albert Einstein will never discover the formula E is mc square, this, and everything this will never exist. Now we are going in a part of the Soviet's nuclear program. Is it in Pervomaisk in Ukraine, former Soviet base of the intercontinental rockets, so-called SS-18. In a NATO names was Satan, the most dangerous gun in a Cold War time. Now in this place is the museum, and here is the map where they have the intercontinental rockets, so-called Satan. The other is the unique photo to the silo of the rockets SS-18. Here is the photo of the most dangerous gun in rockets in Cold War time. SS-18 in warheads. They was able to hit 10 thermohydrogen bombs with the ability to not to destroy, but to destroy the life in 300,000 square kilometers. One rocket, 300,000 square kilometers. In Ukraine, they have 80 rockets like this. In Kazakhstan, 108, and for Russian Federation, 327. The destroyable power was several times overcome all the world. Unbelievable. Okay, and this is the 11th floor of the warheads operation. Here is the main man, the deputy and the technical. In case of the war, they had the information from the Moscow. They get the code. They have their own code. They switch it 3 times, and after that call to the Moscow if it's really war. And after that they put here the key, the deputy the same key, and in differences half seconds they have to put key and to push the pusk. It means start, and after that rockets was able to flow out. Terrible. The people who serve in this, they said in case that they have to get the order to use it, they will switch out their hands. Yeah, terrible. This is now the photo of the warheads, which was here exactly in a measurement 1:1. Unfortunately, nuclear warheads and nuclear bombs are in the aircrafts. Now they are not in a silo, but they are in a mobile cars, I would say. The biggest danger is the submarines, nuclear warheads. And in former Soviet era, they had the trains with the rockets, so-called scalpel, which after less than 20 minutes was prepared to shoot down through around the world. This is the civilization biggest problem. In the last century was done altogether 2,056 tests of the nuclear warheads and the bombs. The Americans, they did it 1,024. The Soviets, they did it 714. The French, they did it 256, and the rest of them, Great Britain, Pakistan, India, Kim, North Korean Kim, they did it 6 tests, and China and Israel, they did it 1 test. One of the biggest tests in the former Soviet Union was the Semipalatinsk. We visited this place. The Semipalatinsk area, nuclear testing area, is big like Slovakia. The Soviets, they did it here 432 tests and 121 in the open air. Yeah. Till now, the planet is covered by the radiation from the tests which did the both sides in the respective time. Okay, the biggest test in human history was the test so-called Tsar Bomba. Tsar Bomba looks like this. It was the 3 degrees thermohydrogen bomb with the destroyable power 57 megatons, as I said before. They use it, the Soviets, they use it in a close of the North Pole in a so-called Novaya Zemlya. The only fireball had 10 kilometers. They destroy the average almost 300 kilometers as a wheel. In the north part of the planet, they have the biggest problem with the system of the electricity. Because the ionization was so strong, they switch off the system of the electricity in north part of the planet, and 3 times the press wave go around the world. After this test, the Americans and the Soviets, they sit down and they really say that it's impossible to use it in a war, that the first doesn't have the military sense. And the second is the finish of the civilization. And they signed, President Kennedy and the counterpartner from Soviet Union, they signed in October 63 the agreement. They will never test it, such a bombs in the air. Now we are in the American nuclear sector, which for sure we have to start by the 2 times using of the nuclear bombs in Hiroshima, in Nagasaki. That is the story which everybody knows. But what is not too well known is that only one building in Nagasaki survived, and this building was done by the engineer Letzel from Czechoslovakia, which built the same building in Prague as a Ministry of the Machinery. Okay, here is the photo of the Hiroshima bomb. It's a different principle, and the Nagasaki Fat Man. Okay, here is the part of the espionage and counter-espionage. In literature, there's lots of information that the Soviets get the information from the Americans, and thanks this information that was able to produce the nuclear warheads. That is the historical announcement. From technical and the physical point of view, in the respective time community, was well known that the uranium is able to make fission. It means it was only the question if they will put the money for scientific and the people to get the nuclear bombs. But what is interesting on that, here is the photo of the 32 Nobel Prize winners. Most of them was directly or indirectly working on the Manhattan Project. In the middle, for example, Albert Einstein, he is the Professor Summerfield, Marie Sklodowska-Curie, Professor Max Planck. Most of them, if they see the results of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they said they will never make any move of their fingers if they will know for what this will be used. There is, for example, Professor Edward Teller. He was the main head of the American nuclear program, and his son is living in Austria, in Vienna. He is a newspaperman, and we would like to invite him to see it. Yeah? As we see in Soviet's nuclear program, the most dangerous rockets, SS-19, Satan, as a counter power against was the Titan, rockets Titan. In a museum is in Arizona, in Tucson. I would like to see it as well. You have the entry here, you have the silo here, and you have the operation warheads or operation heads. Exactly the same system, and probably the human intelligence cannot make the another results or another solution for using the intercontinental rockets. Here's the special photo which I am saying to the schools. If you are really look in a head of the silo in Tucson, it really looks like almost the same as the Soviets. See, for example, the chair on the system, how to do it, And now you can see here absolutely unique things. This is the nuclear mine. That is the firing device M42, which in respective time was in West Germany border with Czechoslovakia, and in case that the Warsaw Pact, which was very strong in respective time, will move, the mines was blow up, and the crater was 400 meters and 40 meters deep, and you cannot go by the tanks. It was impossible. Now we are going to the peaceful useness of the nuclear power, which is the only sense for the future, how to use the nuclear power, never as a military power. Here you can see some system how the nuclear power plants work. We have to start by one absolutely important information by Albert Einstein. Without this, it was never possible to use for the nuclear power plant. It was never possible to use for any type of the military useness. This is, for example, the fuel to the Czech nuclear power plant in Temelín. This is the uranium-35 enriched for 4%. It is possible to use as a fuel to the power plant. If you enrich more than 20%, The best is more than 80% you can use it for nuclear bombs. Okay, and now this is really for the school. Here is the nuclear reactor, here is the active zone, is the system of the regulation. It produces 327 degrees hot water, go to the power generator, he is producing the steam. The steam is going to the turbine, and turbine turn the generator. And generator produce in our Temelín 1,000 megawatts. Okay, why is this system so-called water moderated and water cooled, why is so safe? Is from the physical definition. From the physical definition, never can happen case like in a Chernobyl. In Chernobyl is not well known, but the system of the reactors for Chernobyl will mostly design it, or 100% design it, for the production of the plutonium for the soldiers. But because it works well, they use it for the production of the electricity. This system, from the physical definition, can never happen the case like in a Chernobyl. If growing the temperature of the reactor, the power is going down. It is very, very good, the system. And from our nuclear power plant is one of the best in the world, because around, this is the reactor, around the Czechs did it so-called containment, which is able to keep theoretically 10 atmosphere theoretically, in case something really very wrong. It means our Austrian friends, they really don't have any reason to afraid about nothing. Really, trust me. I was doing lots of times on this project. Okay, here is for example, just to see, here is the fuel cell. Inside, you will put this small element I show you over there. In the nuclear reactors, you have 164 this cell like this. This is for the school, how the cell is fishing and how the energy is going from the uranium. This is from the Temelín. Some exponents from the old part of the Temelín. This is the Škoda company. Škoda company, in respective time, we employ 75,000 people. Škoda company was one of the 5 or 6 company in the world which was able to produce the nuclear power plant from the key. Now the Škoda company doesn't exist. We produce the nuclear reactors, steam turbines, and here is some information generally about how many reactors works in the world. Generally, around the world works about 436 nuclear reactors. The type which we used in Czech Republic, in Dukovany and Temelín, they are in 58 cases. In 58 reactors works like that and never had any problem. This is very important to say, never had, because the physical definition. Just for example, situation in the Europe, maybe that I can say, for example, the France, they are producing 59 nuclear reactors, and they almost 80% of their energy needs are covered by the nuclear power plants. Our friends in Austria, you have one nuclear power plant, but never was in the operation. These some tools historical tools from the nuclear power plant, and unfortunately sometimes happen accident. But that is the normal with every human activity. The biggest accident was the Chernobyl, for sure. Second biggest, which is not 100% under the control, is the Japonsko-Fukushima Japanese in Fukushima. And the third biggest accident happened in year 78 or 79 in 3 Mile Islands in New York, in Pennsylvania in United States, which was small Chernobyl, but relatively very fast was Americans able to get the control up there. When I was very young boy, 5-10 years old, my keen interest was Albert Einstein and his theory. And thanks this, I got the education in a technical university in Pilsen, the focus for the steam turbines and the nuclear reactors. And for sure, 100%, the peaceful useness of the nuclear power is deeply connected with the military application. It means both was my keen interest. And first time I participate in the Ironman Triathlon World Championship in Hawaii, and because my trip there, my dream was to visit the Los Alamos, which happened in year 49. And from this emotional trip, I feel the strong necessity to do something for a better world. If you see a little bit the history, the Czechoslovak, the technical education was in a relatively very high level, and the Czechoslovakia have a very good physics and the chemics. And thanks this, I was 100% sure, we discussed with lots of very smart person, that the biggest danger in a history of the mankind is not the chemical weapons or the biological weapons, is a nuclear weapons. And because we a little bit understand, we feel the necessity to do something against, and what you can do in a communist power against, is the only to know and to explore your knowledgement to the people that in case of the nuclear war, that is the finish of all the civilization. That is not the winner or the loser, that is the definitely finished. It was my feeling from a relatively young time. The Europe have a terrible experience with the wars. 2 wars go through this area, and the Czechs, they've been involved somehow in everything what happened in the last century, and we feel, and we strongly fear, and hopes for a better, more I would say the human world, and especially for a better Europe. It means after the revolution or after the Cold War and the Iron Curtain was broken, I think that the 95% people hope that we need to do something. We need to create a friendship with our before bloody imperialists, with our Austrian and German friends and so on. But after 30 years, we are not sure that everything what we want at that time happened. But we are still the optimists that we have to keep the peaceful Europe for next 200 years. The Škoda company at the respective time, we employ almost 75,000 people, and around 5,000 was specialized for the nuclear power, the peaceful useness. We produce the nuclear reactors, the water cooling and water moderated reactors, which are from the physical definition the most sophisticated, I would say, the reactors in the world. And from my feeling is, and from my understanding is that unfortunately, the peaceful useness of the nuclear energy is the only 2, maximum 4% of the spendings which was done by the mankind to discover the potential of the nuclear energy. The rest of them was done only for the military useness. It means for the future, if the states and the people who are responsible for the future energy situation in our planet will invest more and more money to the peaceful useless energy, we will be much more far. Unfortunately, still, there are the billions and billions going to keep the nuclear military application in a full operation. The biggest paradox of the present situation is that from the doomsday clock, 150 the most intelligent people are coming and they are making an assessment for the future. They are saying that we are as close as possible to the potential, the nuclear war, which is unbelievable. After 30 years of the Iron Curtain was broken and the communists are out of the power, no question without it. We are as close to the nuclear war. How is that possible? That is simple answer. And the biggest threat to the future concerning the military application of the nuclear power is that could happen the accident randomly, that nobody will want to do it, but can happen the accident. That's the biggest potential nebezpečí, the danger. From the physical principle, the Czech nuclear power plants are the most safe in the world. In a world, such a type of the nuclear reactors which are Czech using in Temelín and Dukovany, which are relatively close to our Austrian friends, they are working 59 reactors like this. And in a history, never any problems with that. This is from a physical definition. The physical definition is that you have so-called the negative reactivity. It means if the temperature of the reactor is going up, the power is going down. It never can happen such an accident like in a Chernobyl. I think that for our Austrian friends is the only problem to sit down with the people who are deeply against, and from the technical point and physical point to explain that they don't need to afraid about nothing. I'm 100% sure, because it was my former professional, and my hands was lots of times in reactors which are now working in Temelín and in Dukovany. I think that the mankind cannot have a problem with this, for the future, because now is the sophisticated method how to store it, underground, 1,000 meters underground. That the first and the second. I remember well when I was young, and I teach or I was as a student in technical university, that the highest educated people, they are saying that after 20, 30 years we will have the new type of the nuclear reactors which will use, this use fuel as a fuel for themselves. Yeah, is understandable. Unfortunately, still is not 100%, but they are still working on that. And as I said before, if the states, and the biggest money will go for the scientific method to discover for this, we will be much more far. Unfortunately, billions are still going for the military application. I think that first of all, we need to start with educate the students and the young generation to set absolutely clearly that for the future we don't need any nuclear military application. And the second, is I think that everybody who is in the power in the present world has to come in a museum like this, or in Pierwomajsk in Ukraine, or in Tucson in Arizona, just to see what could happen, because I think that lots of people which are in the power, they don't know nothing about the possibility what could happen if somebody will use the warheads, nuclear warheads in the bomb. Especially, you have a special room is here when we've been in Semipalatinsk, the biggest former Soviet nuclear testing area, and we have seen the medical problems which was born, after the testing, and you see the malformation of the newly born the people. I think that everybody has to go inside themselves and say, no way to go for the future of this world such a way. We can invest lots of money for the hydrogen, new type of the energy, from the free energy and so on, from the solar energy, is a great possibility, but not for the military application,